Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another video. Today we're going to be talking about how thought is related to your level of happiness. And as you can see, I'm back with the old closet door behind me today, just trying to find a quiet space in my house where I can talk and think. And if you don't know, my wife and I have 5 children, so talking and having a quiet place in the house is always a challenging thing to find. And I want to point out a book to you if you're interested in this topic, called You Can Be Happy No Matter What by Richard Carlson. Richard Carlson is best known for his book, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. And I want to begin by talking about the power of thought, the power of our thoughts. You know, everybody wants to be happy. And as a 7 on the Enneagram, you know, that is the motivation for life, is how to achieve happiness. And this chapter where he talks about how thoughts impact our happiness is extremely helpful. You know, we all know what it's like to have a negative thought. And by a negative thought, we mean something like, you know, when somebody says that your work isn't measuring up, or they can't believe you did what you did or said what you said, or maybe it's something somebody says about your appearance, the way you look, or the way you talk, or anything. When you focus on that negative thought and you start to pick it apart, it's going to affect your overall emotional state. When somebody criticizes you or puts you down, or, you know, hints in some way, passively, aggressively hints in some way that you could be doing a better job, or you're not measuring up, or anything like that, it's going to be something that feels like an attack on you. Also, negative thoughts could be, you know, how could somebody be so stupid? Thoughts, those kinds of thoughts. Like, you know, when you're trying to get a project done and somebody just seems to be in the way, or they seem to be holding up the process, and you feel yourself getting frustrated with what they said or what they did, and you're kind of dwelling on, well, why did they say something so stupid, or why did they not get out of the way when they were asked to get out of the way, or why didn't they get their assignment done, or they know we're dependent on them, and anything like that. Anytime you have a negative thought like that, you're not going to immediately recognize that your thoughts are a problem. Because you're not wired to think that you are your own greatest source of problems. You're going to sense that the problems are with the person who said something to you, or the problem is with the other person who is thwarting your goals, or who should be complimenting you but isn't. You're going to tend to think that the problem is them, what they said, or what they didn't say, or what they implied, and your natural tendency is going to be to defend yourself, because you know why you do what you do and say what you say. And when you feel under threat, you're going to get that flight or fight or freeze response, and you're going to probably try to defend yourself, at least in your own mind. And you're not going to see that your thoughts are in any way the problem. You're going to think the other person is the problem and what they said is the problem. But if you can learn to disconnect for just a second in that process, and recognize that your mind is thinking about what has been said, and you're starting to feel those negative emotions of anger and frustration and hurt and bitterness and resentment and all those things, if you can catch yourself in that process, you might be able to eliminate a lot of anxiety and pain and suffering in your life. If you can learn to catch yourself in that process, you feel yourself slipping. In the Enneagram, it would mean you feel yourself slipping to your number of unhealth, okay? Your number of stress. You feel yourself moving in that direction. If you can become aware that that's happening, then you might be able to short circuit that system a little bit and evade, in a sense, that disconnect and that disintegration by just where you focus your thoughts. Rather than focusing your thoughts on what they said, what the other person said, and why did they say that, and going down that predictable route of frustration, anger, and resentment, if you were to get in control of your thoughts and say, okay, they said those things to me. They said I wasn't a good neighbor or whatever it is. I wasn't as prepared as I ought to be, or whatever the statement was. And then you can let it go and just say, all right, maybe there's some truth in that I could benefit from, but I'm going to, benefit from the truth that might be in that statement, or at least be open-minded a little bit to the truth of that statement. But then I'm not going to focus any more attention on it. I'm not going to dwell on it. I think a lot of times what we do is we go home stewing, upset, angry. Maybe they hit a nerve, a place in our life where we feel a certain level of insecurity or weakness. If you feel like you're insecure because you're too short or you're too tall in your own mind, and somebody makes a comment about that, it's going to strike a nerve that already exists in you. But if somebody says you're too short and you're 6'3", you're going to think there's something wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with me. So maybe they hit a nerve of something that you already kind of are a little bit sensitive to. Now, the natural tendency is for you to go home and stew and be frustrated and be hurt and be upset and, dwell on it. And the more you dwell on it, maybe the angrier you're going to get. And as your mood declines, you're going to get less and less rational about how to deal with that. And you're going to start to think that you have to deal with it. Somebody needs to say something to this person. Somebody needs to straighten that person out. And really, probably they don't. Somebody said something, and maybe they didn't mean it the way you took it. Or maybe they meant it, but they were in a bad mood, and they were saying things out of a bad mood that they wouldn't otherwise say to you. Or maybe they're just in a state of unhealth or unrest or decline. And so when you can be compassionate to other people and give them the benefit of the doubt and recognize, maybe they're just having a bad day, or maybe they're having an off day, or maybe somebody's been rude to them today and they absorbed that rudeness and now they're passing it on to me. Well, it needs to stop here. I don't want to pass that on to anybody else. And if I sit and think about and analyze what was said, and is there all kinds of truth in what was said, and what, you're just going to end up in a predictable pattern of decline. And you're best able to handle life when you're in a lighter, more positive, more carefree mood. So if there is something that needs to be dealt with, you can always say, right now I feel myself getting upset. Right now I feel myself getting frustrated. I need to be done thinking about this for right now. So if there's a problem here, and I really am a bad neighbor, or I really am a know-it-all or a loudmouth or whatever it was I was accused of, I'm going to put that on the back burner, so to speak. I'm going to put that thought on the back burner, and I'm not going to dwell on it. I'm not going to think about it. I'm just going to put that on the back burner and just let that sit back there in the back of my mind somewhere. I'm not going to put it in the front of my mind where I'm going to dwell on it and think about it. I'm going to move that either out of my mind and be done with it, and then it has no power over me because I'm done with it. Or I'm going to move it to the back of my mind where I'm not really focused on it. You just sit back there. And maybe that the truth of what was said will permeate into my life, but I'm not going to sit and stew and dwell on it. But what do people do? They do the exact opposite. They sit and stew and dwell on it. And then they get on the phone and they yell at somebody, or they get other people to, can you believe what they said to me? Can you believe what they did to me? This isn't fair. What right do they have? And then they go on and on and on. We go on and on and on, hollering, maybe at people who don't have any business being in the middle of this situation, because we're so filled with upset and anger and bitterness. at something somebody said 5 hours ago that they've probably already forgotten about, or something they said on a report, last week, and it's having power over us, you see? And we would be tempted to think, I'm not the problem. They're the problem. They said this, and I can't believe they said that. Well, okay, this is what I want to get at. It's not so much what they said that's causing you so much problem. It's that your mind is dwelling on what they said. Your mind can't let it go. Your thoughts are spinning around and around and around, and you're worried about and concerned about and fretting about something that you could just be done with if you could discipline your mind to say, I don't have to think about this. Well, you say, how am I going to not think about it? Okay, just discipline your mind and say, I'm going to think about anything else. Anything else, because right now, if I continue this path of thinking about this, my mood is going to continue to drop. And as I get to the bottom of this mood cycle, I'm not going to be able to solve problems when I'm upset, angry. I'm going to solve them in all the wrong ways. I'm going to solve them in ways I'll regret. I'm going to say things that I shouldn't say. I'm going to do things I shouldn't do. And if I speak out of all that irritation, I'm not speaking out of wisdom. I'm not speaking out of kindness. I'm not speaking out of gentleness. I'm not speaking out of compassion. You're not going to speak out of all those things until you're in a better mood. So let's get to a better mood, and then when we're in that better state of mind, then decide, in that back burner, was there any truth into what was said? If there is, then maybe I have something I can learn. Because I'm going to approach life as though I'm a student. I'm not going to approach life as though I'm a teacher. I'm approaching life as though I'm a student. And every interaction I have with people is an opportunity for me to learn something. So if there's something that was said that I could learn and apply, if my resentment level is up and my defenses are up, I'm not going to be open to that truth because I'm going to want to defend myself. But if I can put it on the back burner and just let it sit back there for a while, and then when I'm in a better mood, then I'll be ready to see, was there any truth in that? If there was, then okay, let's be open to that truth. If there wasn't, then be done with it. And just recognize everybody has their own way of looking at the world. Everybody can see ways that you could do things better. Everybody's a critic. Everybody's got, their frustrations and their gripes and their pains in life. And they're speaking out of their place in life and what kind of day they're having and whatever mood they're in. And so rather than give it all my time and attention and let it bring me down, I'm going to let it go by thinking about literally anything else. I don't have to try to shove my mind full of positive thoughts, and sit around and think about flowers and candy and Christmas. You could, but that's a lot of pressure on you to think you have to come up with something positive. Listen, your natural state in life is to be at peace. Your natural state in life is to have joy, is to not have turmoil, to not have tension. That's your natural place in life. So if you can literally think about anything else, get a crossword puzzle out and do that. Turn on a television show and watch that. Have a conversation with somebody about something else. But what you'll do is you go get a conversation with somebody about what was said to you, and that'll just stew it up and get it churning even more until you come up with some kind of bad plan of how to make this situation worse. So what's the takeaway from this? It's your thoughts. It's not what was said to you. It's your thoughts about what was said to you that cause you the pain. It's not what is said to you that causes you the pain. It's what your thoughts are about what was said to you. Who's in control of your thoughts? You're in control of your thoughts. And you could decide whenever somebody says something mean, somebody says, hey, fat boy, get out of the line. You're taking up too much space. Okay, so let's say somebody says that to me. Hey, fat boy, get out of the line. You're taking up too much space. Now, I can start to spin that around in my head, and I can start to think, oh, what they said makes me upset. They didn't really tell me anything about me. I mean, yeah, I could lose 20 pounds, but okay, so if I am fat, then they were right, okay? If I'm not fat, then they're crazy. So it just tells me something about them. It tells me they're a rude person. It tells me that they've got problems, that they don't fit into society very well, that they're a grumper, you know. It doesn't tell me anything about me. It just tells me, watch out for this person. They don't relate well to others. So I'm wiser now. And if I can just catch that fast and dust it off and let it go, then I can be done with it. I don't have to sit and worry and think about it. Why did they say that to me? And I can't believe they said that to me. And what do you think? Do you think that's going to make you go downhill fast? That kind of response. Much healthier to just say, they're in a bad mood, and let it be done. Let it be over. So I don't think this solves all of our problems. But I think it could solve a lot of our problems. That our unhappiness is often tied to our thoughts, and our thoughts become obsessive and self-protective. And when we can let all that go and recognize, I don't have to go down this track. I could let this go right now. Then a state of positive peace returns to us naturally. And when we're in that more positive, peaceful state, we're better able to deal with the problems that life is presenting to us. We don't have to be in conflict. I know I got my dumb glasses on today. That's all I got here at the house. We don't have to be in conflict with all the circumstances in our life. We don't have to be in conflict with every person in our life. Some people just live in conflict all the time. Some people get energized by it, and they perpetuate a state of constant conflict, pushing everybody away from them. And that's self-protective in its own way, isn't it? I don't have to deal with anybody, and nobody can reject me because I push everybody away. So you can find yourself in conflict with life, in conflict with everything, and unable to surrender to life. But you could maintain a positive state of happiness in your life right now, because you don't have to seriously follow every train of thought that pops into your head. You can decide, this train of thought is not worth riding on. I'm going to get off this train. I'm going to let it go. Because I know where this train's going to end up. It's going to end up in pain, anger, frustration, bitterness. And at the end of the day, that's not going to help me fix anything in life. It's going to make life worse. Because when I get in that mood and I let it take me down into that state, I'm only going to exacerbate all my problems in life. I'm going to start fights with people I don't have fights with. So I have no control over what people say to me. I don't have any control over what people do to me. But I can control my response. And I can control how much time I give, how much attention I give to what's said to me, or what I'm going to focus on. And I can flip it, and I can say, instead of they said this mean thing to me, I can say, what can I learn out of this about them and about their state of mind and about their expectations? So in a sense, just in the way we think about what people say to us, we think about the circumstances in our life, we think about the events that happen to us, you can kind of, in a sense, become immune to all of the toxicity of the people in your life. Because when they start to go down and spiral down, you can just recognize, they're in a low mood. So everything they say right now can and will be used against me. So when I know that they're in a low mood like that, I'm not going to put a lot of attention into the things that they say. But what do we do in our relationships? We do exactly the opposite. When you get in that low mood with each other in your marriage or in your home, that's when we start to take notes. Well, you said this. What do you mean by that? Well, you said this. And then we want to hold on to that. Sometimes for years, we want to hold on to that and say, do you remember that time when you said? If you could recognize, look, when people are in their lowest moods, we're going to say and do things that we would never do when we're in a better mood. So make allowances for people, okay? Make allowances for people and say, look, there's times in my life when I get down, I get disheartened, I get frustrated, and I hope everybody doesn't take everything serious when I'm in that place, because I say things that maybe I don't really mean. So I'll make an allowance for people that sometimes when they're in their low mood or in their low state, they're going to say things that maybe they would never say when things were better in their life. So I'm not going to take it all so seriously. I'm going to let it go. And when you let it go, guess what? You become immune. It's like the virus just bounces off of you. The toxicity just bounces off of you. It's like you got a, one of those protective suits on, hazmat suit of tolerance, grace, and forgiveness. That those harsh words and those unkind things and those disappointments, it all just kind of hits you. You see it, you recognize it, and then you say, I'm not letting it in. I'm not going to dwell on it. I'm not going to think about it. Because once I dwell on it and start thinking about it, then it becomes a part of me. So I'm going to stop it at the door and just say it's not welcome in the house. And I'm going to be done with it. Because I'm not going to let your negativity or your negative mood bring me down, because then none of us have a chance of getting back to healthy. Now we're just always talking and dealing with each other down here in this low mood. So I'm going to let it go, and I'm not going to focus on that, and I'm going to stay positive. And watch this. What would bring you, if you were in that low state of mind, in that unhealthy space, where you're upset, disappointed, frustrated, and angry, and everything looks bad, and the whole world looks like it's garbage, when you're in that low state down here, what's going to bring you out of that? Another person next to you who's in a low state, who's finding everything wrong with you, who's upset with you, disappointed with you, and angry with you, and hurt with you? No, you're going to argue with that person. You're going to go back and forth. Well, you never. Well, I never. Well, you never. Well, it's just going to go back and forth until you say things that you regret. And a lot of couples do this. What's going to bring you out of that low state? Well, you're going to have to get out of it on your own. And the way you get out of it is when you can be done thinking about it. Whatever the thoughts are that are causing that low state, because your emotions are following your thoughts. But you're much more likely to get helped out of that state by being around others who are positive. Others who are not going to go down into that despair that you're in, who just are patient with you, who are not trying to push you out of it, who are not upset with you or irritated with you because you're down right now, but who just remain light and lighthearted and positive and caring and concerned, but they don't come down into that frustration and that silence, into that anger. They're going to help you get out of this state better than others who are in an angry, bitter, frustrated, low state themselves. And so if you can say to yourself, look, I'm not going to waste the best years of my life holding on to, thinking about all of the harsh, ugly, negative things that have been said to me in the past. I'm just going to give it up to the Lord, let it go. Let the Lord deal with those people. And I've got to move on. I've got to think about other things. And you know what will happen? You will. You'll think about other things. Like the real important things of life. Like the things that matter. Rather than being stuck down here with all the things that don't matter, you let everybody go, and you let it go, and you say, I'm going to let it go, and I'm going to think about other things. And literally anything else. Just think about anything else. Whatever's right in front of you. When you feel that turmoil starting to bubble up, and you feel that frustration, and you feel that sadness or that bitterness start to boil up inside you, look around, and you see a coffee cup. Think about a coffee cup. Think about coffee. Think about how much you hate coffee, or how much you like coffee, or how much you appreciate the color blue. That coffee cup is blue, and all the things in life that are blue. Anything else, but allowing yourself to go down that spiral of frustration, anger, and bitterness and resentment, because when you get to the bottom of that, you're not going to be fit to deal with anything. And obviously, always can take stuff to the Lord and say, Lord, I got to let this go. Always can do that. But even if you're not a praying person, you can shift your mind away to other things. And when you feel like you're in a good state and you're able to deal with problems, then pull it off the back burner. And was there anything I needed to learn from that? Anything I needed to change or anything, any way I needed to grow from that. And then be willing to grow, because we're always growing. All right, guys, be present to life. Don't miss what's right in front of you because you're worried about the way things should be so much that you can't focus on what is. And enjoy life. Get out there and enjoy life. And don't be so afraid of what people might say to you, what people might do to you. People are living in pain. They're living in heartache, misery, disappointment, and depression. So they're going to speak heartache, misery, disappointment, and depression. But that doesn't mean those things are true. You just listen, you hear it, you take the criticism, and if you start to get hurt by it, move on. Come back to it later when you're in a better state of mind. Love the people you're with. All right, thank you guys. I'll see you next time.